We have 4 new features coming to Elementor Pro, and I'm going to go over all of those in this video. And let me say again, Elementor Pro, this isn't the core version of Elementor. These are features coming into the Pro version of Elementor. And they just keep trying to pack in value in there, so you'll need to use less plugins on your website because you're getting it all from Elementor Pro. Quick news flash, if you haven't heard, that Elementor Pro is going to have a big price change coming very soon. It goes into effect on March 9th. So if you don't have Elementor Pro and you're considering getting Elementor Pro, you're probably going to want to act before March 9th. Now, I'll go ahead and put a link to a video I made covering this in the video description. You'll definitely want to check that out if you don't have the Pro version and you think you might want it, because there's going to be a big old price change and you're going to regret it if you get it after March 9th. So I'm going to go over these changes in order of coolness. And so I'll try to have the least cool options first and the most cool options later on. And we'll just get through this really quick. So the first change, and this would probably be the least coolest, is when you're using Elementor Forms, you can now store the submission as a backup inside of your WordPress website, and it will also give you confirmation if that message was successfully sent out. Let me show you how this works. So the first thing we need to do is drop Elementor Forms on a page on our website. So the Forms module is right here someplace. There it is. Let's go ahead and just drag and drop this. Now, I'm not going to style this or make this pretty. I've made a full video on Elementor Forms before. So what happens now is when we scroll down and we're going to look at actions after submit right here, you're going to see by default a new action will already be added there. And it says right here, it says collect submissions. And so what this is going to do is store it as a fail-safe on your WordPress website, which I do think is a very good idea. So we don't get additional options for this, but it is there. So let me show you where this ends up on your website and the data that is there for you. There's now a submissions option underneath the Elementor icon. So if I go to Elementor, we have it right here, submissions. And here's a submission that I made earlier before recording this video. So I'm going to be able to click into it, but let's look at the list view really quick and see what we got here. We've got our email. We have this green checkbox. If it didn't go out successfully, that wouldn't be green. And then we have the name of the form right here. We have the page that the form appeared on, the ID, which is not really useful. And then we have the date and time. And if you see above and below here, we have an export option, which means we can export this data if we needed to export it. Now let's go ahead and click inside of the submission and take a look at what we see here. It's pretty much the same info, but I'm able to show more, right? The message is right here, and we have an actions log, which is really important. And then over here on the right, we have that additional info that's usually attached to the bottom of the email that goes out. And it's going to let you know the IP of the user and the web browser that the user was using. And we also have an option here to throw this in the trash. What's also cool is this will all hook into the WordPress GDPR rule system, where someone can give you their message and ask to be forgotten. And it will also remove their submissions here. Now, the only feature or enhancement that I'd like them to add to this feature is some kind of automatic deletion of these based upon a time period. So delete submissions over 30 days old, because if I'm using this as a backup, I probably don't need to refer it back further than 30 days. Now, another cool thing that they mentioned about this, they have it in your database as an additional table, so it's stored in an optimized way that shouldn't slow down your website. So now let's get into feature number 2, and that is PayPal button. They literally added a PayPal button module. So let's go ahead and do that. That's going to be at the very bottom of the list here of Pro. I'm scrolling too fast. There we go. Pro. There it is. PayPal button. And you can just literally drag and drop this anywhere you want. Now, this doesn't use the system for PayPal where the payment can actually be accepted on the website. It's using it where it sends them off to PayPal and then they end up coming back. I don't like that at all. I would never use it for professional reasons. However, it's an option and I'm sure some websites could benefit from it. I mean, I've got like one of my attorneys, he's my trademark attorney. He's got this like 1990s PayPal button there where you enter an amount and you click on PayPal and it takes you over. And so I'm sure this could be a benefit to a lot of people, a better experience for sure. I should help that guy out with a new website one of these days, but he's a great attorney. Anyways, so the information we're going to have to put in here and pay attention, you can actually use dynamic content. So this actually opens up a lot of creative uses for this. And I think that's where the power is. Even though I would never use the PayPal button, there's a lot of power in the dynamicness of this. So look at what we got here. So we got the email. So it's the email address for your PayPal account you'd pop in. Now there's a couple different transaction types. And when I expand this, it's going to be checkout, donation, and subscription. And all this does is it changes the options that appear below, right? So we have a SKU option here for a product, but if I change this to donation, I don't need a SKU, although a SKU is actually there. Anyways, so you saw that we just had different options appear when we chose the different transaction type. And here's a subscription right here as well. So it's pretty simple. All you do is enter in an item name, a SKU if you want to, and your price, your currency, your quantity, and the cost to ship, as well as a tax rate. Now, there's a lot of things in here that are not, this is not going to replace e-commerce anytime soon, because with e-commerce, you might want dynamic shipping options, dynamic shipping prices, dynamic tax tables. And for me, I certainly don't want to send someone off of my website to make a payment. So there is a lot of usefulness to this. It's really interesting with the dynamic content, although for me, I probably wouldn't use it. Let's go ahead and look at the button options right here. So one of them, you can see we have the PayPal logo there and the PayPal blue. You can change this. You can have no icon right here, and you can make this look however you want. Although since it is going to take them over to PayPal, I would recommend using the, that's weird. There's a little bug I just discovered. When I try to go back to the PayPal icon, it doesn't just automatically choose it, which is fine. Anyways, I think it's good to have the PayPal icon there so people can kind of guess that they're going to be sent off the site, because it can be an odd experience. And then we just have some additional options right here. This is really good. So we have the redirect after a successful payment, and then we have to enable the sandbox. So sandbox with PayPal, it's a little weird to set up. You go to, I think it's sandbox.paypal.com, and you just like create a normal account, but none of it actually is real. It's fake. So you turn this on and you could test it out very easy like that. That's weird. You can even have a dynamic tag for Sandbox. And then you could just have a custom message here if you want, and then you control what happens when someone clicks the button. Does it open in a new tab or leave them on the site? I would probably not open up in a new tab, but that's just me. All right. And then you just get your typical styling options here that you would expect. This is an interesting move for Elementor. It's not going to replace e-commerce anytime soon, and it's also not bringing that data back into your website. It is quite interesting. I wonder if they'll integrate maybe like Skype, but it's a slippery slope, not Stripe. It's a slippery slope, because what ends up happening, and I know this firsthand, is when you do stuff like this and you choose one of these payment processors, big chunks of the world get left out of that, right? So there's certain countries, they don't use PayPal. It's not popular in that country. And guess what? Stripe is not maybe available in that country. So what ends up happening is you have all these little payment gateways, and they're going to get inundated with people saying, support this, support this. In every country, there's a lot of countries in this world, a lot of different countries, they have their own different payment gateways that are specific to that country. So they're going to get slammed, I think, with feature requests or integration requests. And I probably wouldn't hold my breath that they'll be able to pull all of that off, because who knows what their true plans are with this. However, I think it's a nice addition, and I think the dynamic content side of it makes it quite interesting. It kind of seems like to me that Elementor might be trying to compete with traditional form builders or professional versions of form builders. So I use this one right here. It's called Fluent Forms. Style integrates perfectly with Elementor. And it really, when you look at the feature grid down here of Fluent Forms, a lot of what can be done here can also be done in Elementor. You know, now with the payments, they're holding the submissions down. The only thing lacking so far is conditional fields for Elementor Forms, which I'm pretty sure will probably come this year. But another big thing missing, which is why I use Fluent Forms, is this calculated fields right here. You can open up so much power on your website for it to be more effective in a sales environment when you have a calculator. Just last week, I launched this brand new product here. It's called Presto Player. You should really check it out. It's the ultimate tool for delivering video on your website, and it's amazing. But one of the services that we allow people to use with this is Bunny CDN, and there was some confusion going on around how much Bunny CDN costs because there's just a little bit of a calculation. So I ended up using Fluent Forms right here. I put a knowledge base article right here, and I got this really cool little calculator. So this is a sales tool, right? So, and it's using a form builder. So this is kind of what Elementor, I think, would be like the last nail on the coffin to go after form builders. But right here, you can put in the storage used. So say 10 gigabytes and how much bandwidth, say 300 gigabytes. And then bam, we get this dynamic calculation right here. It's the coolest thing. So even though it looks like Elementor might be going after premium form builders, it still has a long way to go. If you want to learn how to make a calculator field like that, I'm going to make a video on it using Fluent Forms. And if you don't have a pro form tool like this one's actually super affordable. Actually, I don't even know how much it is these days. Super affordable. And I've got a 20% off coupon down below if something like that was to interest you for Fluent Forms, 20% off down there. Yeah, check this out. A single site for $59 and you can do those really cool calculations. And that's not even calculating the 20% off. Feature number 3. Okay, so this is where it starts getting interesting. And there's also going to be a mysterious fourth one that I think is going to be really interesting to pro website developers. But these next two for pro website developers, you're going to like. And so here is what you're able to do, and I'll kind of demonstrate it. Let me just read it. It says, make your intersections stay in columns while sticky and create customized layouts. So basically what ends up happening is you can create a layout like this where someone scrolls, a section sticks, this is still scrollable, and then when that entire section's done, the sticky section leaves and a new sticky section appears just like this. It's actually quite easy to do. Let me show you how. So here I am back on that page, and I'm not going to do a full design just so you know. I'm just going to show you exactly how this works. So I have a section here with 2 columns. Here's column A and here's column B. You can see this right here and this right here. So what I would do is I would drag the intersection element, and there's some things I feel about that. So I would drag and drop this here. Now by default, it adds 2 columns in this intersection. So you're probably going to want to get rid of one of those columns. So you could just right click and then delete. And now we have our 1 column here. And actually I can move my content in there just like that if I wanted to. I actually didn't test this, so this could be a little on the dangerous side, but that's okay. I'll just do this really quick. So now I have all this content, and let's get rid of this button right here. I've got all that content inside of that intersection. You see that right there. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the settings of the intersection. So I'm in those settings right here. You can see it says edit intersection. I'll click on advanced. And when you go to motion effects, we have some new options, and that is sticky. So this right here could be sticky. And what ends up happening is when the entire section is off the screen, this no longer skips and it leaves along with it. So we can turn this to either stick to the top or stick to the bottom. We get our sticky device mobile responsiveness options right here. Offset, effects offset, and then this right here is what you need to toggle on. Stay in column. Now, when you do that, it's going to stay here. So when this is off the screen, it's going to be off the screen as well. So let me just get creative. Let's go ahead and duplicate this a few times and make this really long. like that. So I'm going to duplicate it. So in theory, what should end up here, actually, let's not do this here. Let's go onto the front end of the website to see that. So in theory, what should happen is it should stick. So there we go. And it's sticking. Ooh, it looks like a little jumpy there, but that's okay. I probably did something wrong. So, or maybe it's one of the elements that I'm using. There we go. It's a lot smoother when I'm moving up like this. This is beta, by the way, so there might be like a little bug in it or something. I probably would make this column stick to the start at the top, and then it would have been a lot smoother. But you get the idea. The point isn't to show you how to, create this beautiful thing with it. It's just to show you that this is going to now be an option. Okay, because I'm a perfectionist, I just had to fix it and show you. I was a little embarrassed by that for a second. All right. Now I have it on the top. You can see it's not in the middle. So you're going to want the alignment. Obviously, you'd want it at the top, and it was by default set to the center. So now you can see it. It's sticking, and now it's nice and beautiful and smooth. I'd probably do some kind of an offset to have it be kind of in the middle in the viewport or something like that, or do my best to get that. But you can see it looks a lot nicer than it did a second ago. So you can do this really cool, modern way of laying out your website design with this new feature of the inner content section. So here's what people are not going to like about this. And maybe someone that's watching this that's smarter than me or uses like a superpower user of Elementor can tell me, but why did they have to make it features of the intersection? Why couldn't it have been just an option inside of the column? Because now when we drag an intersection in, we're creating deeper nesting, we're creating deeper divs. Why not just have these be an option in the column? There's probably a smart reason for that. I don't understand. Personally, I don't know why this couldn't have just been a options that appear in the column versus having to do this intersection. So anyways, maybe because you would, if it's an intersection, it could be multiple columns in there that stick together. Maybe that's what it is. But that doesn't make sense either, because you could use absolute positioning if it was just in a column. So I think, unless someone wants to correct me, I think it would have been better to just have this in the column. So we're creating less nested divs. A lot of people build their website with Elementor the wrong way, and they're building all this markup because they don't know the proper way to create their layouts. Okay, so for the creme de la creme, the last thing, which is not 4, but I'm just going to call it number 4, and this is going to probably give some hope to the power Elementor designers and developers in the group. Check this out. They're not even talking about this yet, but now with the beta of the core version and the beta of the pro version, you have this different experience when you're looking at the mobile responsiveness. And I think it alludes to the future of mobile, of custom breakpoints. So check this out. So now when I go down here to responsive mode, it looks like we have a different icon. I click on it, and now what happens is this panel drops down. Before, we'd have this little thing that popped up here, and I would choose what I wanted to see, the tablet or mobile. But now we have this little panel that comes down, and you can kind of see it right here. So, well, obviously right here, you can see you can change your device, right? That's not the exciting part. But now you can see right here, we have a settings icon and an X. Let's see what happens when we click on that settings icon. You see over here, it says breakpoints, and this is now inside of the site settings, this breakpoints panel, and you can enter in your custom breakpoint for mobile and for tablet. But what I believe this alludes to is the future of having multiple custom breakpoints, something that has been probably the biggest request that they've received. And some people are not really happy about that. And they even publicly commented on about a month or two ago saying, this is coming. We know you guys want it, but you guys might not understand all the work behind the scenes that's going to have to go into making this work in a non-hacky way. I don't know about you, but I don't want things done on my site in a hacky way. So if it means they need a little bit more time to make it be done the right way, but then so be it. But this is actually really exciting here to know that this is coming, because people have been wanting it for a long time. There might be a few more goodies in there, but these are the main things that I've seen, and they're kind of interesting and very intriguing. And it's going to open up some more options for designs, for advanced looking designs. However, I do look forward to a future where there's a big focus on improving the performance And I do think it would have been cool if those options for the sticky didn't require another nested section with this intersection, and it could just be something in a column. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm sure they have performance improvements coming in the future, and they did have some performance improvements in the past. So we'll see what comes in the future. Remember, if you don't have Pro and Pro something you want to just make sure you know all the information, because big changes are coming up in just a few weeks. And if you're going to want it, you're going to want to get it before then, because you're going to pay a better price. You're going to get more sites that you can use it on. So I do have a link to Elementor Pro down before, or visit WPCrafter.com/Elementor, and it's going to take you right on over to Elementor's website. And and I got my new product, Presto Player. You should check it out, PrestoPlayer.com. I have a link down below. We have a special launch promotion going on for that. What do you think of this new Elementor update? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next video.